Hello and welcome to Beyond the Twelfth's latest podcast. My name is Harry Hawthorne, the host today, and with me I have Jack Redding, who is a Liverpool fan who lives in Manchester. Hi, Jack.
Hello.
Firstly, how are you? You good?
Yeah, fine, thank you.
Good. Looking forward to the weekend.
Ish.
Hoping for a good result for Liverpool.
Exactly. We'll see how they do.
Yes, we will. The main reason I've got you here today, of course, is that you have lived in and grown up in Manchester and am a Liverpool fan. And I wanted to ask you a few questions really about what you see the difference between the cities being, the difference between the fans and the culture, and what it's been like for you growing up in a city which traditionally has, let's just say, a slightly ferocious rivalry with Liverpool.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like I say, Manchester's quite a proud footballing city, and there's a lot of football clubs in and around the city. So I'd say United are quite spoiled. 20 Premier Leagues, however many European Cups. I'd say compared to Liverpool, the fans are quite spoiled. Yeah.
Would you say that's probably down to recent success? Because
See, it's not even recent success, but it's success consistently. Liverpool have had the Champions League, they've had the FA Cup success, they've been in and around it in recent years, but it's the hallmark of saying 20 Premier Leagues, I'd say, with Manchester United.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, to be fair. I think the thing with Liverpool is, and it's been for a while, is that there is a monkey on the back with the league title, and I think once they get off that, then
and United don't have any monkeys on the backs.
No,
that's the thing with United; they've won everything.
Yeah.
So, like I say, the fans have become used to that, but I think as a club, they've also become used to that, and trying to recreate the success they had is an impossible job. And I think the fans and the club need to sort of come to terms with that. Whereas, like I say, Liverpool, they've had sort of success, but not in the Premier League, and that's their monkey on the back. So, both clubs are sort of similar in that regard, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thing that is obviously similar and obviously defines the rivalry to a certain extent is the success.
But it's success in different ways, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, completely. As I say about the league title, and United have sustained it. But I mean, we'll watch Sky Sports in a few days, and it'll be all this stuff about the Manchester shipping canal and all this. I mean, do you think that's particularly relevant? Do you think that's just sort of a media made sort of thing to do with the rivalry? Do you think it is just the success of the football teams?
I'm not convinced there's a huge rivalry. Footballing terms, I think it's just sort of the fans sort of creating the competition. I don't think the clubs see each other as competition anymore. I think they've got different goals and different aspirations as clubs.
Do you think that comes from the ownership? So you were speaking about different ambitions as clubs. You look at the way United run and the Glazers. Would you say that's something to do with it?
Yeah, no, I think it's the ownership. I think, like I say, Liverpool, the Premier League is the big thing for them. Whereas United remaining one of the biggest clubs in the world is their main focus. I think one's footballing and one's maybe business.
Yeah.
I think they obviously overlap, but there's certainly an argument to say that United are trying to get the business on track with the football, and Liverpool need the Premier League to keep the business going at the top level, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
it's a good point one made. I've got a quick question for you. I mean, obviously, this podcast is about the fans, but it's just equally important to look at what's on the pitch. Who do you think, if Liverpool don't win the league this year, who do you think will win the Premier League next, out of the two of them?
Out of the two of them, Liverpool, I'd say. I don't think United are close. I think if you look at Liverpool, they've got a solid basis of a team. They've got a solid manager. They've got a direction. I don't think United have a direction. I don't think they will for a couple of seasons yet.
Do you think that will depend on their manager? Do you think Solskjaer could do well?
No, I think they need to sort of go back to the drawing board and figure out what they want from their manager. Do they want a manager? Do they want a coach? Do they want a technical director who's going to develop the squad and create assets? I don't think United know what they want from the first team coach at the moment anyway. Whereas Liverpool have Klopp. They know what Klopp brings. Klopp knows what Liverpool bring. There's a progression there for Liverpool.
it's interesting you bring up Jurgen Klopp, because obviously, I just keep mentioning this podcast is about fans and the way that fans go to games, interact with games. Jurgen Klopp must be a dream for you as a Liverpool fan. He just seems like he understands it, and he gets the city and he gets the fans.
I think sometimes it's not necessarily... Obviously, he's got results, but he's not done it overnight. I don't think as a fan you necessarily mind that if you see a project building. I think as a fan you want something to buy into, you want to see a progression of your team. It's not necessarily a success on day one that you want to see long-term success.
Yeah, and obviously you're not from Liverpool, you're from Greater Manchester, or Manchester more generally. What was it like for you growing up as a Liverpool fan in Manchester? Did you get a lot of stick, or was it because of the as you mentioned at the start, the variation of loads of different clubs that it actually wasn't too bad?
I think it's a mixing pot of different clubs, but United were always the team, especially when in sort of school. City weren't a big threat at that point, so it was just United. There was sort of Bolton, they had a few fans and they were doing sort of quite well in the Premier League, but it was always United. It was United winning it most seasons. It was United winning Champions Leagues, getting in Champions League finals. So it was one of those Liverpool fan where you're clinging on to former victories to try and win your arguments. It's one of them. I
suppose it's a generational thing, because at the end of the day, I think with Liverpool is that, in your lifetime they never won a league title, and that is obviously the monkey off the back.
Yeah, it's the chip on the shoulder.
Yeah,
for Liverpool
exactly, which is understandable, I suppose. Of course, the big elephant in the room, you could argue, is Manchester City. There's been a lot of talk from a lot of avenues that Manchester United Liverpool is no longer the biggest game in English football. Would you subscribe to that maybe City United is, or City Liverpool, or do you think the rivalry is too deeply ingrained, and no matter how well Man City do, that it will never quite reach the same level?
I think you're always going to get rivalries. You're always going to get your derbies, and I think as a Liverpool fan, you look at the Everton game, especially a Liverpool fan from Manchester, you look at the United game over the Everton game as the big derby. But I think in football in terms, it's, especially for Liverpool now, they're pushing for Premier Leagues, there's almost putting that sort of derby to one side and concentrating on victories rather than emotional sort of games, derbies. So I'd say for a Liverpool fan, I'd much rather beat City than United. I think it's much more important at this stage.
Yeah, that makes sense, to be fair. As, the two teams going for the Premier League title. With Liverpool, how do you think it's going to go for the rest of the season? Do you think they're going to have the Premier League title in May, or do you think it's going to be just too difficult to beat that Man City side overall?
I think I'm quite a pessimistic fan, as we probably discussed before. So I'm not counting the eggs till they hatch. We've been in the same position a few seasons ago, and look what happened in a few games. So I think as a Liverpool fan, you don't want to get your hopes up. You just see if we can get in those last 5 games and see what happens.
And with Manchester United, how do you think they're going to finish the season? Do you think this form under Solskjaer is due to his management? Do you think it's just due to a change of management, because obviously Jose Mourinho's left and he was basically stinking the place out?
Well, that's the thing. I think there was a bit of a cloud over United. I think it was affecting the players. So I think I'm not convinced it was anything Solskjaer has done. I think it's just a change. I think it's Mourinho leaving that's done it. So I think their sort of run is probably going to come to an end soon, and they'll come back down to earth and figure out that they need to get a long-term manager and sort the hierarchy at the club out, I think.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. I've obviously got to get a score prediction for Sunday, if that's okay. How do you see it unpanning as well? If you could talk a little bit more about the game.
I think Liverpool have been a bit nervy in recent weeks. I see a nervy start, possibly 0-0 until half-time, and then I'm hoping a late goal for the Reds. So I say 1-0 Liverpool.
1-0 Liverpool. All right, well, thank you very much for coming on, Jack. It's been a pleasure.
No worries, thank you.
Cheers.